There comes a moment in every life when silence becomes louder than words, when the noise of achievement, obligation, and routine begins to fade, and something deeper, almost ancient, begins to whisper from within. It doesn't ask politely. It doesn't wait for a convenient time. It simply rises, clear and trembling, like the sound of a bell in an empty cathedral. What is your soul filled with? It is not a casual question, not the kind that appears in small talk or in passing thoughts. It is a question that arrives when everything else stops working, when success no longer satisfies, when duty feels hollow, when the mirror stares back at you with eyes that seem to know too much. You sense it in those long nights when you feel both full and empty at once. You wonder, is my soul filled with what I chose, or with what was imposed upon me? With memories that nourish me, or with wounds I never dared to name? For most people, this quiet rebellion of the soul begins somewhere between 40 and 60, though sometimes it comes earlier, like thunder before the storm. It's not a crisis, it's a calling. The soul grows restless, tired of crumbs, tired of pretending. It begins to reject the masks, the roles, the false peace. It demands something real, meaning, authenticity, depth. And when that awakening begins, many feel lost, as if they were living with their soul trapped in a bottle, pressed against glass, trying to breathe, waiting for someone, maybe you, to finally open it. This is where depth psychology, especially the work of Carl Jung, enters like a lantern. It does not fix, it reveals. It invites you to step beyond the surface, to descend into the realm of symbols, archetypes and images that speak in a language older than words, a language the body understands, even when the mind resists. And so today, I bring you not a test, but a mirror. A symbolic reflection designed not to measure, but to reveal. Because sometimes, the shape of the vessel tells us more about the soul than 1,000 words ever could. This is not the kind of test you'll find in magazines or on social media. There are no points, no categories, no labels. It is not here to entertain you. It is here to unveil you. This exploration is inspired by Jung's vision of the psyche, a place where logic cannot go, a sacred depth where memories, wounds, and forgotten truths quietly dwell. According to Jung, the soul speaks through images. When you choose an image without thinking, your unconscious is speaking in symbols, revealing something essential about your inner world. That's why this experience must not be answered with the head, but with the heart, with the part of you that feels, that remembers, that intuits, that quiet corner of your being that knows, even when you don't know it knows. There are no right or wrong answers, only paths. Each vessel you will see represents a way of being, a way of feeling, a way of inhabiting the world. Your choice won't define you forever, but it will show you where you stand today, what your soul needs, what you've protected, and perhaps what you've abandoned along the way. So don't rush. Take a slow breath. Look carefully at each vessel before you and ask yourself, with complete honesty, which of these containers feels like a reflection of my soul? Right now, in this chapter of my life? We could have chosen any image to speak about the soul, a flame, a mirror, a river, a sky, but we chose the vessel. And that is not a coincidence, because a vessel is something that contains, and the soul, too, is a container of memories, of old pain, of secret longing. It holds the laughter of your childhood, the fingerprints of every love you've known, and the silent scars that never quite fade. The vessel has form, material, and limits, just like you. Some are simple and rough, molded by hand, others are refined, translucent, born of fire and patience, yet all share one purpose: to hold, to protect, to preserve. That is what your soul does, even when you forget how to hold yourself. The vessel is more than a shape, it's a story, not just because of what it holds, but because of how it holds it. Is it heavy or light? Opaque or transparent? Delicate or strong? Each choice you make, each vessel you're drawn to, is symbolic language. It speaks of how you experience life, how you contain emotion, how you protect what's fragile inside you. And that's why this test isn't about judgment, it's about recognition. Because when you recognize yourself in an image, you begin to understand not only what fills your soul, but how it carries that fullness. The truth is, every vessel tells a story of transformation. Clay must break before it's reshaped. Silver must pass through fire to be purified. Wood must be carved. Porcelain must endure the furnace. And glass must first melt completely to become transparent. That's the secret behind this symbolic mirror. Your choice will reveal not only who you are, but what kind of fire forged you. If you chose the clay jar, your soul speaks the ancient language of the earth. It doesn't crave brightness. It doesn't chase applause. It simply longs to be real. Your essence is raw, grounded, silent. You carry life in your skin the same way cracked clay carries sunlight. Open, imperfect, honest. You do not hide your scars. You've learned that beauty does not live in what is polished, but in what has survived. Those who feel drawn to the clay jar are often souls who have been through storms, who have fallen, shattered, and rebuilt themselves with their own hands. You've stopped being dazzled by false promises and no longer decorate your truth to please others. You value roots over surfaces, depth over decoration, substance over appearance. You are someone who has chosen truth over comfort, and maybe in doing so, lost friends, spaces, privileges. But what you gained is rarer: integrity. Your soul holds stories. You are one of those who listen before they speak, who give without needing to be seen, who quietly hold others when everything falls apart. You are fertile ground, a safe place for others to come home to. Your presence restores the essential, reminds others what it means to be human. But even earth has its shadow. When authenticity becomes armor, it can turn into rigidity. You may close yourself off to what's different, believing that your way is the only honest way. Over time, your truth may harden, and what was once integrity can become isolation. The clay jar is porous. It absorbs everything, and so do you. You carry the pain of others without noticing the weight. You feel the world's injustices deep in your bones. If you don't cleanse your heart, you can become heavy with what isn't yours. You might know the quiet fatigue of a soul that's too full, filled with stories, grief, and silence. Sometimes you feel like no one truly understands you, as if you were born in another time, another tribe, a place where things still had meaning. But remember this: you are not alone. There are others like you, souls of clay, of earth, of roots. Your wisdom is ancient, yet even clay must stay moist to remain alive. Flexibility is also truth. You can be authentic without being inflexible. You can hold without absorbing. You can have cracks and still contain beauty. The clay jar doesn't need to shine. Its power lies in its presence. It doesn't need perfection. Its dignity is lived experience. You carry that same quiet strength, a power that doesn't shout but transforms, a soul that doesn't demand attention but leaves a mark. Your imperfections don't need repair. They need reverence. Every crack is proof that you were alive, that you have endured and still hold light. If your heart was drawn to the silver cup, your soul carries the weight of ancestry. You are not made only of your own choices. You are made of names, of stories, of traditions whispered across generations. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. Your soul knows reverence. It remembers. It honors. Like silver itself, a noble metal that does not boast like gold. Your essence glows with a quiet, spiritual beauty. You find meaning in rituals, in promises kept, in the invisible threads that bind people together across time. Those who choose the silver cup are often keepers of memory, the ones who hold the family together, the ones who light a candle for those who have passed, the ones who protect what is sacred when the world forgets. You find purpose in order and structure, in knowing where you come from, in staying loyal to values that feel timeless. You believe in truth, in the word given, in silence that carries respect, in love that endures through storms. You walk through life with dignity, a soul that moves with ritual precision, treating every encounter as something sacred. But within that depth lies a shadow, the burden of duty. When everything in you revolves around responsibility, you risk forgetting yourself. You become the strong father who never breaks, the perfect daughter who never fails, the professional who never shows exhaustion. You wear masks of composure, even as your soul trembles inside, and because you've always been the pillar, you rarely allow yourself to lean. Sometimes the silver becomes cold, too structured, too exact, too restrained. You find it hard to let go, to break the rules, to dance without control. You may fear disappointing others if you change, fear losing the respect that defines you. So you stay, inside the role, inside the lineage, inside the expectations of others' love. But remember this, tradition is not a cage. It's a current. It flows, it adapts, it transforms. A cup does not lose its beauty when filled with new wine. You can honor your past without becoming its prisoner. You can preserve the wisdom of your ancestors while allowing your own voice to sing within it. You have the power to teach, to guide, to inspire, but you also have the right to rest. Even the most elegant chalice must be emptied, cleansed, and refilled with new light. Your legacy is not only what you protect, it is also what you renew. So if the silver cup called to you, know this. Your soul is noble, structured, luminous. But even nobility needs warmth. Even structure needs flow. And sometimes, the greatest act of honor is to lay down the armor of responsibility and simply let yourself be human. If your eyes rested on the wooden bowl, your soul was made for care. You were born with a quiet instinct to hold, to comfort, to nourish. You are the fire that keeps others warm when the night feels endless. Like wood, your nature is living, breathing, textured, imperfectly beautiful. You are not fragile nor extravagant. You are steady, grounded, familiar. You carry the scent of home. Those who choose the wooden bowl often embody a maternal or paternal essence, regardless of gender. Your presence is what heals others, not your words, not your advice, but the silent calm that tells people they're safe near you. You've been the listener when no one else listened, the shoulder that carried more than its share, the heart that keeps giving, even when running on empty. You sense pain without needing it to be spoken. You notice what others overlook, the sigh in the middle of laughter, the absence behind a smile. And so, you give, endlessly, tenderly, instinctively. Your soul finds meaning in service, in being needed, in holding space for others to breathe again. But therein lies your shadow, self-erasure. The one who always holds, sooner or later, runs out of hands. You forget to ask, to rest, to receive. You tell yourself it's fine, that love means giving without limits. And yet, one day, you wake up hollow. The bowl that fed everyone is now empty. Sometimes you confuse being loved with being useful. You measure your worth by how much you give. And when you finally need care yourself, you feel guilty for asking, as if rest were selfish, as if your tears were forbidden. But even the wooden bowl must be refilled. Even kindness needs to turn inward. You cannot pour warmth into others if your own fire has gone out. Remember, saying no can also be an act of love. Love for yourself and for the life that wants to move through you. The wooden bowl is strong, but it also dries from within if ignored. It cracks quietly, unseen. So take time to polish it, to oil it, to let it breathe. Your soul deserves the same care you give so freely to others. You deserve spaces where you don't have to prove your goodness, where you are loved not for what you offer, but for who you are. Your tenderness is not weakness. It is ancient wisdom. The world survives because of souls like yours, souls that know how to feed, how to soothe, how to love. But now it's your turn to nourish yourself, to return home to your own warmth. If you chose the porcelain cup, your soul is a lover of beauty, not the shallow kind, but the beauty that restores balance to existence. You are the quiet observer who finds poetry in the smallest things. The way sunlight glides across a wooden floor, the scent of rain before it falls, the tremble in a voice when someone speaks from the heart. Your soul was born with a gift, the gift of perception. You see layers that others overlook. You hear what's hidden between words. You feel the invisible architecture of emotion that shapes every moment. Like porcelain, you are refined through fire and fragility. You've endured the furnace of life, not to harden, but to become luminous. There is an elegance in the way you exist, a grace that whispers rather than shouts. You long for harmony within yourself, within your surroundings, within your relationships. Chaos unsettles you. Loud conflicts drain you. You retreat into quiet spaces, not out of fear, but to protect something sacred, your inner peace. The porcelain soul thrives in calm, in art, in meaning, a conversation that flows slowly, a piece of music that unfolds like breath, the gentle symmetry of light and shadow. All these things feed you, organize you, help you remember who you are. But with that deep sensitivity comes your shadow, the temptation to withdraw from the world. When the noise becomes unbearable, you create small inner universes where everything is perfect, where nothing and no one can break you. And while those sanctuaries protect you, they can also imprison you. The risk of porcelain is not weakness, it's isolation. The fear that no one will understand your depth, that your fragility is a flaw instead of a gift. So you build walls made of silence and subtlety, and soon beauty becomes a fortress instead of a bridge. There is also the shadow of idealization. You want life, people, and love to mirror the same harmony you carry inside. But life is rarely gentle. It is messy, raw, unpredictable. And when the world fails to meet your vision, you feel heartbreak not just in your chest, but in your spirit. Yet porcelain does not lose its value because it's delicate. Its fragility is what makes it sacred. You were never meant to become unbreakable. You were meant to remind the world that vulnerability is strength. Your task is not to escape the chaos, but to bring beauty into it, to make harmony from the noise, to open your heart, even when it trembles, to share your softness in a world that has forgotten how to feel. You are a soul of art and tenderness, a living proof that not all light must be fierce. Sometimes the softest glow transforms the darkest room. So if this is your soul, cherish it. Do not apologize for your depth. Do not rush to toughen up. The world doesn't need you harder. It needs you exactly as you are. Delicate, perceptive, quietly radiant. Remember, even imperfection can be art, and even broken porcelain can be made whole again. Its cracks filled with gold, its history turned into beauty. If your gaze lingered on the glass vessel, your soul has chosen the path of truth. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to see. The glass hides nothing. It neither decorates nor disguises. It allows light to pass through. And that's what your soul seeks above all. Clarity. You've walked through illusions and survived their collapse. You've peeled away masks, even your own, and stood in the raw honesty of who you truly are. You are not easily fooled by appearances, nor easily satisfied with half-truths. Your eyes see beyond. Beyond the pleasant story, beyond the rehearsed smile, beyond the layers of denial that most people cling to. You are the kind of soul that doesn't fear silence. You fear falseness. You may have walked through deep losses or betrayals, moments when the ground gave way beneath your feet. And in that darkness, something inside you decided, never again will I live in lies. From then on, your spirit became crystal, pure, sharp, unfiltered. You crave transparency in yourself and in others. You want to see what is, even when it hurts, because you know that truth liberates, even when it breaks. But every light casts a shadow, and your shadow is distance. Sometimes you analyze so deeply that you forget to feel. You observe emotions rather than live them. You stand outside the storm instead of letting it soak you. You can see the hidden fears of others, their contradictions, their wounds, and in that knowledge, love becomes difficult. Because you see too much. You understand before they speak. You detect the mask, and your soul recoils. There's also a subtler danger, spiritual pride, believing you've awakened further, seen deeper, evolved beyond. But remember, the soul does not compete. There are no levels in love. Each awakening is unique. Each heart opens at its own pace. Without compassion, truth turns to stone. Without warmth, clarity becomes a blade. Your words can cut like mirrors, precise, unflinching, unforgettable. But sometimes, the world doesn't need a mirror. It needs a hand. So if this is your soul, let your lucidity stay human. Let it melt a little. Allow tenderness to mix with insight. Let your transparency become invitation, not judgment. You are one of those rare beings who can see through illusion, and that gift is sacred. But even you must rest. Even you must cry without analysis, laugh without meaning, and allow someone else to hold you. Because even the clearest glass is still meant to contain water. And water, emotion, love, life, is what keeps the vessel alive. You are an awakened soul. But awakening is not a destination. It's a rhythm, an inhale of truth, an exhale of compassion. And perhaps the clearest thing you can ever see is that no one awakens alone. Maybe as you listened, more than one vessel called to you. Maybe you felt a pulse in the clay, a tenderness in the wood, a longing in the glass. That's not confusion, that's truth. Because the soul is not fixed, it flows. It changes shape with time, with grief, with love. Today, you may be a bowl of wood, nurturing, full of warmth. Tomorrow, a cup of silver, steady, ancestral, sacred. And one day, when everything you thought you were begins to dissolve, you may find yourself as clear as glass, as if nothing could separate you from what is. We are not made of one material. We are a mosaic of all of them. Earth and fire, wood and metal, fragility and light. We are shaped by seasons, by the touch of others, by the storms that crack us open. This is the hidden wisdom of symbols. They don't trap you, they reveal you. They don't define, they reflect. Each vessel you felt drawn to speaks of a moment in your story, a lesson your soul is quietly learning. Maybe you're reclaiming your authenticity after years of pretending. Maybe you're honoring your roots while daring to evolve. Maybe you're learning to rest after a lifetime of giving. Maybe you're remembering that beauty doesn't require perfection. Or maybe you're finally ready to see, clearly, compassionately, through the illusions that once held you. Every image is a mirror of need, a whisper from the deeper self that says, "This is what I'm craving now. This is what I must remember." The clay says, "Be real." The silver says, "Stay loyal to what matters." The wood says, "Nourish yourself as you nourish others." The porcelain says, "Honor your sensitivity." The glass says, "Tell the truth, but don't forget to love." None is better than the rest. Each is a chapter. Each is a face of the same soul, yours. And in the end, every vessel, no matter its shape, size, or color, exists for one purpose: to hold life, to keep sacred what must not be lost, to remind you that you are both the container and the content, both the hands that mold and the breath that fills. You are not static clay. You are not fixed silver. You are not fragile porcelain. You are the water that moves through them all. Now that you've heard the story of every vessel, take a breath. Let the silence settle. And ask yourself, gently, which one chose me? Because perhaps it wasn't you who made the choice. Perhaps it was your soul, the quiet force that has always guided you, long before you could name what you were searching for. Each vessel you saw was a mirror, but the reflection you felt, that sudden pull, that ache, that warmth, that recognition, that was you remembering yourself. You may find pieces of you in all five. That's natural. The soul is not a statue. It's a living current. It shifts, cracks, overflows, renews. Today it may need grounding. Tomorrow, transcendence. And that movement, that continual rebirth, is the truest sign that you are alive. Jung believed that symbols are bridges between the conscious and the unconscious, that when you engage with them, you are speaking the ancient language of the psyche. So your choice today wasn't random. It was communication, from you to you. The vessel you chose revealed what your mind couldn't yet put into words. It whispered what your life has been trying to tell you. That is the quiet miracle of this work. You see an image, but what you truly encounter is yourself. So now I invite you to share, not as a comment, not as an answer, but as an act of self-recognition. Write down, honestly and simply, which vessel felt like your soul, and why. Don't worry about being right. Don't worry about what others will think. Your words might be exactly what another soul, somewhere out there, needed to hear today. Because when one person dares to look within, to name what they see, it gives permission for others to do the same. In a world obsessed with speed and surfaces, you chose to pause. You chose to listen. You chose to feel. And that is profoundly human. So, my friend, I read you with respect, with gratitude, with soul. You are not just a viewer. You are part of this circle of mirrors, where every reflection deepens the others. May your vessel, whatever form it takes, stay strong, stay open, stay full of life. And when it empties, may you have the courage to fill it again with what truly matters. Because the question is never really which vessel you chose. The question is, what will you pour into it next?